Hello, everyone, and welcome to our quick podcast update with me, Lebohang, Mojapelo, your host for today. We are just going to be going over the stories that have been in the news this week and that we would like to just unpack a little bit more. The first story that we have earlier this week on Monday, there was a press conference held by the Special Investigating Unit head and the Health Minister, Aaron Motsoaledi, to discuss the issue of the Tembisa Hospital looting. The discoveries that have happened now is that over 2 billion rand worth of public funds meant for patient care, meant for infrastructure, meant for supply chains were siphoned from that hospital. Remember, this is the same hospital and this is the same issue where Babita, who was murdered for being a whistleblower, blew the cover on this, and it has been under investigation since then. It is very sad to know that there are 3 syndicates apparently who are involved in this who have reaped millions and billions of rands from this hospital. One of them actually connected to the president, who is a nephew of his, Angwani Maumela, and is one of the syndicates who stole at least 450 million rand. Connected also is Vusumuzi Kat Matlala, who is now, as we know from General Mkwanazi, a crony of current police minister, Senzo Mchunu, and as well as Rudolf Maziburo, who was also implicated to have gained over 280 million rand from the Tembisa Hospital, from procurement services. This is incredibly saddening because we are currently facing crisis in our healthcare system. And to know that there is money that is coming in from public funds that is meant to take care of South Africans' public health is being stolen in such a manner. But also the involvement of political leaders within these crime syndicates and within public funds is incredibly scary to think about, particularly when we know that a lot of this money has been channeled into the ANC budgets. The relationship that has come out so far from the Madlanga Commission of the relationship between Kat Matlala, Ban Mohotsi, and Senzo Mchunu shows us that a lot of the monies that these tenders have gone to these particular individuals have come back through politicians and to the ANC in many different ways. It is incredibly worrying to think that the state of our healthcare is due to thievery and such blatant thievery. The next story that was quite big this week is that Donald Trump, US president, has somehow found a solution to Gaza where he has created a 20-point ceasefire plan for Gaza. And of course, we are going to question it because what are US's interests within Israel, within Palestine? And we've been questioning this for a long time as Israel has continued to perform a genocide on Palestinians for the longest of times and since the occupation in 1948. The US has supported this, has given them military aid, and somehow has come up with a new plan to give a ceasefire, despite many failed ceasefires which have been caused by Israel themselves, not sticking to any ceasefire plan that has come up over the years. Trump's solution includes what he says is a board of peace chaired by himself, and includes Tony Blair, which is an insult to the Palestinian struggle and all victims of imperialist wars, because Tony Blair is a known war criminal who played a leading role in the illegal invasion of Iraq and the deaths of hundreds of thousands under the guise of nuclear weapons, which were never found. So it is strange, but not particularly strange, that his presence in this situation in Gaza, what is he going to bring besides continuation of imperialist forces within Palestine and within the Middle East, which has been destabilized by the West for so long? This scheme is going to create a new force, which is not the IDF, but an international stabilization force trained by the United States and coordinated with Israel and Egypt to now monitor the situation in Gaza, which is occupation by any other name. And furthermore, the Palestinian Authority is being forced to undergo reforms until they are said to be ready to govern. Once again, Palestinians are being told they cannot govern themselves. Palestinians are not being given back their land. Palestinians are not experiencing any form of restitution to their infrastructure or being given back their land that have been dispossessed of Besides, there's nothing about aid coming back in. There is nothing about infrastructure being reinstated and the right of return for many other Palestinians. So it is not a good situation for Palestinians. It is the 20-point plan is not bringing anything new except extending the occupation, giving it a new name, and bringing in other people to continue this imperialist occupation. And it is incredibly sad, I think, for Palestinians to continue to live in this kind of way. However, we still do believe that the best solution for Palestine is for Israel to be defeated. It's for Israel to be isolated across the world. And it is good that many other countries, like France recently, are now acknowledging Palestine as a state. And we need this to continue. And we will not stop fighting until Palestine is free once again. That is the best solution for Palestine, self-determination. And speaking of what is currently happening in Palestine, we need to speak about the Global Sumud Flotilla. It is a group of 48 ships that set sail with activists and concerned citizens from across the world in different countries to go and breach the illegal blockade that Israel currently has in Gaza, where it is blocking the movement of aid to the local Palestinians, and that is blocking any form of assistance from anybody. So this flotilla is including 5 South Africans who have been on board some of those ships, including Nkosi Velile Mandela, a member of parliament and grandson of Nelson Mandela, activist and writer Zukis Wavana, and activist Jaiz Mullah. Unfortunately, as Israel will do, they attacked the flotilla and have taken most of the members on board these ships and kidnapped them into Israel. Right now, as it stands, many governments have stood up and said they will go and speak to Israel. The same thing with South Africa, that they will be getting their citizens back and speaking to Israel. However, there needs to be more done. As it stands, Colombia has removed all diplomats of Israel from Colombia, and we need South Africa to do the same. In 2023, in November, after October 7th, the EFF passed and put a motion in Parliament to remove the embassy of Israel from South Africa and cut all diplomatic ties. While it was passed very resolutely within Parliament, the president has still not done anything to finalize this. I think this is the next step, because Israel does not care about anyone's human rights, particularly in international waters, and not respecting the rules of international waters and kidnapping people from different countries. As it stands, they say that they are working with Israel in order to get our citizens back, and we wish that they will get them back safely. However, there needs to be more uproar. Israel needs to continue to be held accountable until something changes in Palestine. As we've all seen in the news, the president and commander-in-chief of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Julius Malema, was convicted in a firearms case dating back to 2018 at the EFF's 5th anniversary celebrations. We should say that we would like to commend and respect our CIC for respecting the rule of law and appearing without fail for a trial that lasted 7 long years. And it's a reminder of how much justice takes time in South Africa and the nature of our judicial system. We must commend him for not using this case, even now, when he has been found guilty, to motivate any anarchy or disorder in our society, and not asking people to disrespect the law, no matter how they are feeling. Order will still be maintained, and we commend him that not one drop of blood has been spilled in his name, nor has he encouraged it to. We would like to let everybody know that the EFF will be appealing the ruling and await sentencing, and we'll see. The sentencing will guide how the EFF moves forward, but definitely strengthening our legal team and pursuing it further to the higher courts. The EFF is prepared for any eventualities and are very confident that this ruling will be overturned, as a lot of it was based on circumstantial evidence, hearsay evidence, and was not proven without a reasonable doubt, which is the standard and the metric required in a court of law. Our primary focus as we move along is the local government elections coming up next year, and we will, uh, you know, kind of making fighters more confident that that's the focus right now, and we're not deterred in the path of seeking economic freedom in our lifetime. There are still many fights that the EFF still has to fight, and they will continue in Parliament, on the ground, in the wards, and in our communities. The work will keep going on, and we will not forget why the EFF was established. We will not forget that these are attacks that continue to happen against the EFF. Recently, even Donald Trump in the White House was, advocating for the CIC to be arrested. There've been many times he's been taken to court over freedom of speech and singing our victory and struggle songs. So it is nothing that is not new, and it is not something that the EFF will be discouraged by. Come January 2026, we will continue, and the EFF stands by the CIC and local government elections. That's the next focus. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll see you soon.